In episode 64, Monitoring Residuals and Secondaries, we focus on what happens after a risk response is implemented. The action may be complete, but the story is not. Every response leaves behind residual exposure, what remains after mitigation, and sometimes introduces new secondary risks. These post-response conditions determine whether control efforts truly reduced uncertainty or simply transformed it. Monitoring at this stage ensures that results align with intent. Ignoring residuals is like celebrating victory before confirming the field is secure. Mature risk management recognizes that the aftermath of action often carries its own lessons, and that vigilance must extend past execution. Residual risks deserve clear, explicit definition once a response concludes. They are not vague leftovers, but measurable remnants. Teams must specify which portion of the original threat remains, in what form, and under what conditions it might resurface. Clarity avoids the false comfort of mostly resolved. For instance, implementing encryption reduces data theft probability but may leave operational exposure to key management failure. By defining residuals precisely, managers keep accountability visible. These descriptions also inform insurance strategies, control testing, and audit planning, turning residual management into a deliberate continuation of the risk lifecycle rather than its epilogue. Secondary risks emerge as side effects of responses. Every intervention carries potential trade-offs. New technologies create dependency. Added reviews introduce delay. Tighter controls may frustrate users. Identifying secondary risks early prevents surprise and allows proportional mitigation. This is not pessimism, it is systems thinking. Effective leaders anticipate the ripple effects of every decision. They know that solving one problem can unintentionally create another if perspective narrows. Cataloging secondary risks alongside residuals provides a full picture of post-action reality. It recognizes that complexity, not failure, is often the source of new exposure after change is introduced. Once residuals and secondaries are identified, they must be reassessed in terms of probability, impact, and proximity. Probability estimates may shrink from major to moderate, but they rarely fall to zero. Impact might shift from financial loss to reputational harm. Proximity, the expected time until the risk could materialize, might increase or decrease depending on response timing. Reassessment translates intuition into updated quantification. It acknowledges that risk response changes the shape of exposure, not just its size. This ongoing evaluation turns reactive fixes into proactive awareness, ensuring that residual attention matches current rather than historical conditions. Every reassessment relies on underlying assumptions, which must be validated. If those assumptions prove faulty, residual analysis collapses. Perhaps the response depends on a vendor maintaining uptime, or on staff following new procedures consistently. These assumptions deserve scrutiny through testing and evidence. Validation keeps optimism honest. It may reveal that certain controls require reinforcement, or that dependency chains are longer than expected. By examining assumptions explicitly, teams protect themselves from misplaced confidence. In risk work, transparency about uncertainty is a strength. It converts conjecture into structured monitoring and ensures that confidence is earned, not assumed. Monitoring residuals requires tailored indicators. The signals that tracked the original risk may no longer apply. For example, a response that improved system uptime might now require monitoring of maintenance backlog or vendor performance. Indicators must correspond to the altered risk landscape. They provide continuous feedback on whether residual exposure remains within acceptable bounds. Defining them clearly also simplifies escalation and communication. Good indicators are specific, measurable, and relevant, giving both management and auditors clear evidence of control effectiveness. This precision transforms monitoring into an ongoing validation process rather than passive observation. Escalation criteria should evolve alongside residual indicators. Linking the two ensures that when residual exposure grows or thresholds are breached, the response is swift and proportionate. Escalation is not a sign of failure, it is a function of responsiveness. Clear linkage prevents uncertainty about who acts when conditions change. It also sustains management's trust that risk oversight is active rather than ceremonial. Well-defined escalation paths create rhythm and reliability. They assure stakeholders that no residual risk will quietly expand in the shadows of completed actions, and that vigilance continues until confidence is empirically justified. After-action complacency is one of the most common failure points in risk programs. Teams feel relief once a response is deployed and attention shifts to other priorities. Yet partial success can mask unresolved vulnerability. Controls may erode without feedback, and residual risks can resurface through drift or neglect. Avoiding complacency means embedding residual review into standard reporting cycles, not treating it as an optional follow-up. Leaders must reinforce that mitigation completion does not equal closure until validation is documented. Sustained attention distinguishes genuine resilience from temporary relief born of fatigue or misplaced satisfaction. Ownership remains as vital after mitigation as before it. Residual and secondary risks need assigned stewards, individuals accountable for ongoing observation, review cadence, and updates. These owners may differ from those who led the original response, reflecting shifts in operational control. Clear delineation keeps responsibility active and visible. Establishing cadence, weekly, monthly, or milestone-based, ensures that review remains consistent with the risk's dynamics. Ownership and cadence together sustain discipline. They prevent the drift into assumption that someone else must be watching, maintaining an unbroken chain of accountability from identification through closure. Monitoring residuals also requires understanding cumulative exposure across multiple items. Individually small remnants can collectively exceed tolerance when aggregated. A project might hold 10 minor residuals that together represent a significant unacknowledged burden. Cumulative analysis quantifies this combined effect, prompting management to reprioritize or escalate. It transforms isolated fragments of risk into a holistic picture of organizational vulnerability. This approach mirrors portfolio thinking, recognizing that while each exposure may seem negligible alone, their convergence could threaten objectives. Tracking cumulative exposure ensures that oversight reflects total reality, not just compartmentalized fragments of comfort. Residuals eventually reach a point where they can be retired, but only with evidence. Closure should depend on data showing that exposure has stabilized or diminished below appetite. Evidence might include trend charts, control test results, or third-party attestations. Retirement without proof creates blind optimism. Properly closed residuals free up attention for new challenges, demonstrating maturity in governance. Documented closure also provides auditors and successors with traceable rationale, reinforcing transparency. By demanding evidence-based retirement, organizations prevent the quiet accumulation of phantom risks, items marked complete but still active beneath the surface. Some residuals recur across projects, hinting at systemic issues. When patterns repeat, they become themes. Converting recurring residuals into themes allows strategic attention at higher levels. For instance, repeated findings of delayed vendor responses might indicate enterprise-wide supply chain fragility. Addressing themes multiplies efficiency. Solving one root issue can eliminate many surface symptoms. This thematic approach elevates risk management from tactical cleanup to strategic improvement. It transforms repetition into revelation, ensuring that lessons are not confined to individual efforts but shared across the organization's full portfolio of initiatives. Communication plays a central role in managing residuals and secondaries. Leaders must convey trade-offs transparently, especially when residual risks remain accepted rather than eliminated. Explaining why a residual persists, perhaps due to cost-benefit constraints or operational necessity, maintains trust. Stakeholders are more comfortable with informed imperfection than with hidden exposure. Upward communication should translate technical language into clear, consequence-based summaries. Downward communication should reinforce vigilance without alarm. Transparency ensures alignment between field awareness and executive intent, transforming acceptance from silent tolerance into documented, understood agreement. In the end, monitoring residuals and secondaries is about finishing strong and then verifying. It ensures that effort leads to endurance, not illusion. The process affirms that mitigations worked, assumptions held, and new risks are understood before declaring victory. In this final stage of risk control, persistence matters more than speed. True closure arrives only when data, ownership, and communication converge to confirm safety. Vigilance after action preserves credibility. It proves that risk management is not just about planning and reacting, but about validating outcomes and learning continuously from every response that reshapes uncertainty. Thanks for listening. For more audio courses, daily newsletters, and more, please visit baremetalcyber.com.